This podcast contains strong language and adult themes from the outset.
Finding the funny. Finding the funny. With Ruth and Ange. Finding the funny.
Now, Mal, before we start, can you open with what the hell is? Can you open with your normal catchphrase that you would open with on the phone?
Okay. Is going hell what the? Down. I didn't say down.
Down. You missed the down. What the is the hell the?
So
As you can hear, we've got some very special guests on with us by popular demand.
I think we should get Mal to do that again, though.
Okay,
You can't really do it without the down.
Down. Mal.
Get you down in, Mal.
hell down going, what is there?
Can I say, though, I put up a poll on Instagram to ask if people wanted you to come on. Over 730 people said yes.
Oh my goodness.
You
730.
are long awaited finding the funny guests.
Yeah.
Right. Great.
I mean, actually, now we don't even need James or want James.
No.
Come on. We've got you now. That's it. There's no other Corden's going to be part of this.
No.
Forever, ever.
So this week on Finding the Funny, we are exceptionally excited to welcome, quite frankly, what is now known as British royalty and American royalty. They are both well known this side and the other side of the pond.
I've actually been calling them, Pats, national treasures.
They are national treasures. And we were all disappointed when in the New Year's Honours list, neither of them were recognised for their services to entertainment and sport via their videos of the NFL.
Exactly. In fact, they're now international treasures because of their, treacherous nature on the US side.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you haven't figured out who it is yet, please will you give a raucous, Finding the Funny introduction to Mal and Margs, AKA our parents. Yay!
Mal and Margs in the house.
We've had loads of questions for you, Mal and Margs.
Right. Okay.
We have had lots of people loads of people on Instagram said, not a question, but I just adore them. I think they're great. Not a question, but we absolutely love them. Not a question, but they're brilliant. All of that stuff. Obviously, I've responded to them all individually saying they're not that great, actually.
You don't actually know them.
No.
But the most popular question, I must say, was who is your favourite child?
Like they're going to answer that.
Well, it's James, isn't it? We all know that. We can't give them the same swanky shit James can.
Any parent who answers that question doesn't deserve to be called parents. Unless, of course, they've only got one child.
Yeah.
But a parent of with two or more children, you cannot have a favourite.
Margs, come on, you've got a favourite.
No, I always say when anybody says, "Oh, you must be," when we're with James, you must be so proud of him, blah 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 blah. And we always say we have two beautiful girls as well, who we are equally as proud of.
However, though, I do think, though, I was the first.
Yeah, that is true.
So, I always think your first is, if I had to pick between Joel and Nels, it'd be Joel. Probably would be Joel. Yeah. Because he was the first, he really sort of broke my mothering teeth. So, I think, although you won't say it.
Yeah, I think you're right. And that makes me the least favourite because I'm the third.
especially when, I don't know whether you know this, whether you remember me telling you, but Mum and I were told that we couldn't have children.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And this is actually probably none of our listeners probably are aware of that because it's not something you would really ever talk about.
No.
So,
but also, Ange, I also just want to remind you that, you were also left in the bank by Dad when you were like 3 days old.
Yeah.
If you weigh that up with
I think the novelty of me soon wore off.
Yeah, it was like 3 days of this shit. I'll leave her there, thanks.
Well, of course, we were living in Germany at the time, and I was only used to going in the bank on my own.
Yeah.
and
and
I
then all of a
consequently
sudden-
coming out on my own. So I was in a familiar place doing a familiar thing, and I did the familiar thing of leave Ange in the
Yes.
bank. And I went round to the other shops, and Mum was there, and she said, "Where's the baby?" Quickly run back to the bank.
Well, look, also just to say, I must be the least favourite because Mum always tells a great story when Mum was in labour with me. Obviously, nobody gave a shit. They had a boy and a girl. It was like, oh, if she, you know, she's going to have a boy or a
extra.
yeah, it's like, oh God, bloody hell. Dad had a KFC and fell asleep, and Mum said, "Would somebody like to wake up Sleeping Beauty and tell him he's got a daughter?" So I am definitely.
There is the spectrum.
But you see, every time I have a KFC now, this reminds me of that wonderful event.
Exactly.
It's that.
I think that's why I'm morbidly obese.
Yeah.
because of the KFC.
Yeah. You think patty, you think KFC.
Yeah. I
It's
think
the secret blend of herbs and spices that go to make up patty.
Make up the patty.
Ange, go with our second question.
Okay, so this is one of the other questions we had in.
Yeah.
Why are there toothpicks, or as Mal likes to call them, toothpicks, all over your house?
So for those who don't know,
that was not a question. No way.
Yeah, because you see, right, Mal, if you listened to our podcast on the regular, which you don't, Margs, credit to you because we know you do. I happened to mention a couple of weeks ago how I'd been to your house. It was the time I had to come over with Joel, car, all that shit. And I walked into your house because you weren't there at the time, and just sort of loitering in the kitchen. And I was sort of standing there waiting for the kettle to boil. I found 2 or 3 toothpicks just banded around, right? I thought, oh, okay, interesting. Went into the lounge to sit down with my drink. Found another 3 or 4 toothpicks, a couple on the sofa, a couple on the coffee table. And I sat there thinking, what is the obsession with toothpicks in this house? And why are they just everywhere?
Strewn.
Well, you never know when you're going to need a toothpick, do you? You know, you might have been to KFC, I don't think there's another one.
Straight on cue.
Mal has just lifted one off of the sofa and shown us on the video.
This is one of those with the string thing in the middle. But if you bend it, you've got a little.
Oh, you've got a little.
That looks quite
violent. It's a dual toothpick. We've got to remember this is an audio only, guys. This is an audio only.
I need to go to the loo.
Mum,
we need to keep this in. We need
take
to
your earpod out because otherwise we'll hear you. Take your AirPod out, or else
we've got to keep this in because this is classic Margs.
This is classic.
We could be anywhere with Margs, right? And I mean anywhere. And she will just all of a sudden need to go
to. We are going to get onto what gets on your shitting tits, aren't we?
Oh, Mal, have you got a tits?
Yes, Mal, have you got a tit?
I mean, you could do a spoonerism on that, couldn't you?
Spoonerism? What?
Spoonerism, yeah.
What's that?
What gets on your titting shits?
Shits.
That's a spoonerism. There was the Reverend, I can't remember, and he was the one who famously swapped the initial letter of words.
Oh.
Right, I do that a lot.
Yeah.
You love a spoonerism, Ange.
I do. I didn't even know it was called that.
And the famous line that there were 2 ladies in his parish who were leaving his parish to begin opening up a tea shop in Horsham.
Right.
So he announced it, and he said they were going to leave and they were going to open up a horse shop in Teesham.
He's also bought a Finding the Facts.
Yes.
He still does the facts there.
Yes, spoonerisms.
Spoonerisms.
Yeah.
We've got a Finding the Facts and a shitting tits out of Mal.
Why is it called? Do you know why it's called a spoonerism though, Mal?
Because he was the Reverend Spooner. I mean.
Oh, wow. That's a great name, the Reverend Spooner.
I mean, we've got a fact out of Mal and everything.
Hang on.
This poo break for Margs has worked in our favour.
Oh, yeah. These are named after the Oxford Don and ordained minister William Archibald Spooner, who reputedly did this a lot.
Wow.
Yeah.
Margs is back.
Margs is back.
Over to you, Patty.
Okay, so what are Ruth and Ange's best and worst traits?
This is your opportunity now. This is your opportunity to go gung-ho, giving us some of our shit back.
Well, obviously, Ruth, you know what I'm going to say is your worst one.
My political leaning.
No. What gets in your shitting car?
Yes,
We had a
Mal.
list.
And on
We all
brand.
went to see-
Absolutely on brand.
We all went to see Jules Holland recently, and you picked Mum and I up.
Yes.
And on the dashboard of your car, there was a layer of dust.
Disgusting.
High in fat, low in fat, dust. It must have been a quarter of an inch.
Yeah.
A layer of it going across.
Yeah.
You drive around in
a skip.
basically. Yeah.
In a bin on wheels.
It's the latest VW model, the Skip, the VW Skip.
Yeah.
You could market that.
Okay, this is the best bit we're coming to now. Dad, what's Angie's worst trait?
Angie's worst trait. I know what Angie's worst trait is.
Yeah.
She completely ignores phone calls.
Yes! Yes! That is a good one!
Yeah.
I'll take that. I'll
Yeah.
take that. Yeah,
that
I
is a
know.
good one. She's
I'll be the
so
first to say
rubbish at
that.
it. She is
Yeah.
so rubbish.
I am.
Responding to messages, answering calls, giving a
Yeah.
shit about people, really, in essence, is
Yeah.
what we're saying.
Yeah.
I think I give a lot of shit.
J-O-K-E, Joe.
Let's move on then.
Best
to...
traits.
What's your best one?
Margs, what's my best trait?
Your love of people and mankind, really.
Oh.
And mostly the less fortunate. You're aware all the time of people that are less fortunate than you and
Oh, that's kind.
want to be aware of
Thank you.
them.
That is very true. They are
Aw.
Patty's best. They are.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Okay, Angie. What's Angie's best traits?
I know it's
Angie's
going to be
best-
hard to pick one.
It is, actually. Yeah. There's millions.
Angie's best trait is the way you organise people and other things that are important to them, and you don't hesitate to
Yeah.
make sure that all things are in place, and
Yeah.
you're conscientious. That's
Aw,
probably.
That is a really good trait. That is a very Ange trait as well.
I remember when on my 70th birthday, we had that lovely meal together, and who was it who turned up with all the photograph memorabilia? Ange.
Ange got a story. Just to say, Ange got a story. I didn't get a story.
I think that again shows the favourite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although left you in a bank. I'll just remind you, left you in a bank. Ange, Mother's Day is just around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, stressed out mum. You've got two awful kids.
Yeah,
I know
absolute
because I know
pains in
them
the
very
arse,
well.
yeah.
Awful. How does some free wine sound?
I mean, I will take free wine, whether it's Mother's Day or Tuesday.
It is the perfect time to try your new favourite wine club, Wine 52, for free.
That sounds amazing, Pats. What do I need to do to get this free wine?
So all you need to do, or all your children need to do, I should say, in the run up to Mother's Day, is obviously if you're over 18, it'll have to be Joel that does it.
Yes, shall.
All you need to do to get your free wine for Mother's Day, Ange, is go to www.wine52.com/funny, cover the postage of £5.95, and you'll get 3 bottles delivered right to your door. And I've got to say that Wine 52 wine is very good.
Well, I mean, I have sampled it, so I can really talk.
Same.
I can talk with some knowledge and some experience
Same.
here. And Wine 52 is a discovery club, which is all about showcasing the very best wine from a different region each and every month. This month, it's the rightfully revered region of Bordeaux. And I love myself a Bordeaux.
Yeah.
And actually, the time when I have sampled the wine 52, that was one thing I really liked about it, was that you had like 3 wines from a particular region. I loved that.
Yeah.
I really did.
Yeah.
If you have a preference on type, wine 52 have you covered, as you have the choice of a mix. So you can have red only or white only. Also included is the Glug magazine, which delves into each region's wine culture, and 2 tasty snacks as well.
I have to say, the snacks that came in the box
They were
also
V,
really,
yes.
really good. Really good snacks. Really good.
They
snacks.
really were.
And after that case has been sent to you for just the minimum cost of the postage and packing of $5.95, you'll join the monthly wine club. There's no minimum commitment. If it's not for you, you can pause or cancel your subscription at any time. So there's the website you need to go to is www.wine and then the number 5 and 2.com/funny to claim your 3 bottles of free wine today. Mal, you've got a shitting tits for us this week, I do believe. What's been getting on your shitting tits?
Or what's been getting on my titting shit.
On your titting
Exactly,
shits.
Mel. Nice.
Right. So obviously airline travel hasn't been much in evident lately.
No.
So you're all on a plane and the plane lands and the seatbelt sign goes off, and what happens? People just, climb up straight. They're up out of the seat, opening up the lockers, getting. And what for?
Where are you going?
What are they
for?
Yeah, they're only queuing up in the aisle.
Yeah.
So, and they're even. I mean, when we fly to the USA, fortunately we go business class.
Yeah.
Of course you do.
Even in that compartment as well,
Same.
and they're at the front of the flipping plane.
Yeah.
They're going to get off first anyway.
Mal, Margs, how do you feel about people who clap the pilot when you land? They're dickheads, aren't
Did
they?
anyone clap? Because obviously, Mal and Margs have recently come back from a LA trip, darlings.
We've been out in the
Living
States,
it up,
moving
doing all the NFL shits.
Yeah.
And so they arrived back on, what day did you arrive back?
Friday.
Storm Eunice.
Friday afternoon. Yeah.
They arrived back during Storm Eunice. So obviously the land was a little bit hairy, you said. Did anyone clap on that?
No.
Because
A few screams.
You scream.
Few screams going on.
No,
Yeah.
are you joking?
Yeah. When you were dropping 500 feet in a couple of seconds,
Was that the worst?
Yeah.
Was that the worst turbulence you've known?
No, not for me. No.
Margs,
it for you,
what
Margs?
about you?
Yeah, probably me.
Yeah. And could you imagine me on that flight?
Oh God.
Oh.
Can you? Patty on
when I was in the Royal Air Force, we took off from Hong Kong in a massive storm, and it was in those planes then. The navigator, strangely enough, sat at the back of the plane, near where I was sitting, and I could hear him conversing with the pilot, saying, "We should be through this by now," and we were getting thrown all over the place.
Oh my God!
The funny thing was, there was a guy behind me who obviously had.
Oh no! Don't tell that, Joe.
come on, Mel.
He had a sick bag.
Oh no!
And he was very active with the sick bag as we were going through this. But there was another guy who was also in the band. Yeah. What Stu did, he poured dried soup into.
Not dried soup, a tin of soup, wasn't it? Half a tin of vegetable soup
into a sick bag. You see.
Right.
And during this episode, he pretended to vomit into the bag, and then he sort of looked at it. Oh, that looks okay.
Oh no!
That is disgusting.
Then started eating it. you know, he
They were animals.
Talking of sick, there's a good question. Mum, do you remember when James made his own sick? And James was so desperate to not go to school that he got up in the middle of the night and mixed like chopped carrots with
corned beef.
mustard.
Corned beef was the
Corned
main
beef
ingredient in that sick.
into a Tupperware,
Corned beef.
tipped it down the loo, and said to Mum, "I've been sick."
No, but didn't he also? I thought he put it out on the pavement.
He did the next day. So he did it in the loo the first time, and Mum said, "Well, you better stay off." And then he made a tub to take with him the next day.
And tipped it out
on the pavement, went back to Mum and said, "I've been sick again." And Mum knelt down, didn't you, Mum?
Yeah, you smelled
And you
it.
could smell that it was pickled.
I said, this isn't.
There you go. There's an insight into, you know, James's behaviour as a child.
James not wanting to go to school. But Mal, what about just talking of airlines in general? What about like baggage reclaim? How do you feel about that?
I mean, before we go on to that,
Yeah.
the other thing that gets on my
Titting shits.
Yeah.
is, so I know that masks have been a brilliant, useful tool in
COVID
the prevention of COVID. Yeah.
COVID.
But, well, in America, it's just unbelievable.
In what way?
This whole mask.
What, big on the masks?
Well, outside, you've got to wear them outside.
What?
Outside?
We went to see our grandson playing basketball at his school. The nearest person to me, other than Mum, was like 20 feet away.
And you had to wear a mask.
But we all had to wear masks. This is outside.
But the kids all had to wear them.
The kids were all wearing them.
No.
They were getting closer.
Oh my God.
But anyway, we're queuing up at LA Airport to get on the plane. Obviously, all masked up.
Yeah.
And you have to present your passport with your photo page open.
But keep your mask
So
on.
But you have to get. So I said to the. I mean, obviously, I didn't want to offend her or anything, but my natural sort of.
Yeah, I mean, we know how you can be, Mal. Yeah.
We know where you stand, Mal.
I said, so how are you going to recognise me? Well, she took offence and said, look, you know, we have to. I thought, oh, no, I shouldn't have done that.
So, Ange, we're back talking about Dipsy, and we have both very much enjoyed the dabbling that we have done with Dipsy, haven't we?
Dabbling with Dipsy is
dabbling with Dipsy.
It is, honestly. It is. I am really impressed with that
Me
app.
too.
I really am, because it would be something I wouldn't normally have gone for.
No.
But I have been very impressed with the whole thing. You know, it's just a bit of light relief, isn't it?
So for those that don't know, Dipsy Stories is an app full of sexy audio stories, and they bring out brand new stories consistently, constantly, all the time. No matter what you're into or what turns you on, Dipsy helps bring these stories to life anytime, anywhere.
Yes.
Close your eyes and let yourself get lost in a world where only good things happen and pleasure is your only priority.
And
there's also like a sleep section.
That's what I was just going to say. For me, that's what I found the biggest thing, because you know, Pats, I do struggle to sort of switch off and settle down. You know, I don't really go into particularly deep sleeps, and that has definitely been the thing for me that's just really helped me to really relax, to sort of switch off, wind down. So that for me is the key thing for the Dipsy. You know, yes, obviously
the wellness section.
Yes,
the wellness
that
section.
I think is the key thing for me, and I have really got a lot from that. So for listeners of the show, Dipsy is offering an extended 30-day free trial when you go to dipsystories.com/funny. That's 30 days of full access for free when you go to dipseastories.com/funny. dipsystories.com/funny. Okay, well, we're going to hear more from Margs and Mal later on in the ep, but we've actually just, you know, we've pushed them out for a bit. We've had enough of them. It's getting quite a bit, actually. It's getting too much.
Yeah.
So we are going to have a quick chat about some dickish behaviour that we've had sent in. And this came from Behind the Gritted Teeth. Now,
Behind the Gritted Teeth.
We don't know what Behind the Gritted Teeth's actual name is. So
but that's their Instagram handle.
So we're going with that. So thank you very much, Behind the Gritted Teeth. She/he, I think it's a she, said, people chatting shit to cashiers after they've paid. Piss off. I've got places to be.
Yeah, and this is like, oh God, you see them, don't you? Holding their purse. They haven't paid yet. Everything's through. They've packed their trolley. They're just holding. And then I said to Colin, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it anymore. Yeah. And the cashier's going, yeah, you're right. You're right. And Colin said, well, I'm not going to do it anymore either. And I thought, well, do you know what? Sod off, Colin. And you're stood there thinking,
please go. You have got your shopping. It's in your bag. Just pay the cashier and leave, Susan.
Do you know what gets do you know, this is a bit shitting Tix-esque. But do you know what annoys me? When you pick the wrong queue at the cashier.
Oh, yes.
You think you've made the right choice. You're going to go, right, this person's only got 6 or 7 items. You get in the queue. That person's got at least 15. And then there's a problem with a barcode.
Yeah. Or it hasn't got a barcode.
And Lorraine is ringing her bell, flashing the light.
And you're basically looking at the other queue that's now...
Its speed.
And then you go, I would have been through by now. If I'd have gone in that one, I'd have been through.
And now there's a bigger queue at that one, so I've got to stick here.
I can't move now. I've got too much shit to move. I'm going to have to just wait.
I've got to wait here now. Yeah. And you're watching people who are way behind you leaving, walking out.
I actually think you should have like a time system on your conveyor. Hang on, let me just...
Well, this is where your Aldis and Lidls are great, aren't they? Because they just don't give a shit.
But then that's one extreme to another, isn't it?
They don't want to chat. If there's not a barcode, they just throw it away.
Sorry, can't have that.
There's not a barcode. You don't want that, really, do you? Just get rid of that packet of crisps.
But I think if there was a timer, if you were set a timer, right?
Oh, God, could you imagine Margs?
Well, Margs doesn't ever really do the shit. I think it's Mal that does all that anyway.
Oh, yeah, Mal does all that shit.
Margs, really, what does she do?
Clean our houses, Ange. That's what she does.
I mean, I actually cleaned my own bathrooms yesterday.
Outrageous.
Where the blood... While she's been swanning off in bloody La La Land, I've had to clean my own bloody toilets. But I do think, because... That isn't when people just literally think they are the only person in the store. They're the only person at the... It's worse when you know that the cashier and the person they're serving know each other. Then you're in risky territory. You are literally like, I'm going to be here for 2 days. I'm going to be here till tomorrow. I'm going to be here till next week.
There's going to be a SOS sent out for me, so I'm not going to go home to my family tonight.
Because Sandra, the cashier, knows Beryl, the customer. That's it.
And you're like, well, look, I just quickly, before we go back to Mal and Margs, I had an interesting moment. So I went to Tesco and I needed to get some cash back because I wanted to go and get my car cleaned, and I had to pay with cash.
Okay.
Topical conversation.
Yes, very topical. Patty getting her car cleaned. Yeah.
So I bought a couple of bits for my car, air freshener, stuff like that.
What did you buy, Pat?
I bought a out of it.
Nice.
And I picked the wrong queue, firstly. And this person, there was a problem. Oh, no, that's what happened. They paid with pretty much exclusively with vouchers. So they bought like 300 quid's worth of booze. No joke, right? And they were almost finished when I joined the queue. And then she opens her purse and she's like, that voucher, like just throwing these vouchers. So this cashier's like scanning every single, couple of them don't scan, you can't use that one. Oh, I've got a different one, try that one. Honestly, I think they had like 200, it was either 250 or 300 quid's worth of booze.
Bloody
and
hell.
They paid about 40 quid in cash.
Shit in hell.
So I'm stood there like, oh God.
Just hurry up.
I just want, and they're just like vouchers galore. Anyway, I get to the till. And I pay and I say, oh, can I get some cash back, please? Oh, we don't do cash back at the tills anymore. Like, right. She said, you need to go to customer service. I said, right, okay. So she said, I'll print off your receipt with all the... You can just take this receipt, get that scanned. Yeah. So she said, I'll get a manager to come down and get you. So we go to the kiosk, massive fuck-off queue at the kiosk, right? So I say to this, the manager's like, I'm so sorry, I can't
bypass you.
I've got other, and she said, I'm really busy, I've got other stuff to do. I said, that's fine. So I'm sitting in this queue, get to the front, hand over the 2 things that I want to buy. Can I have £10 cash pass? Cash pass?
Cash pass.
Can I have £10 cash back, please? Go to pay with Apple Pay. You can't do cash back on Apple Pay. I didn't have my card. I was like, what? She said, oh no, to do cash back, you have to put your card in and put your PIN in.
No, Pat.
I was like, are you joking? I just need 10. She said, I can't do it.
No. That's why you've always got to take your card, Pat.
That's what Margie said to me.
Why are you just relying on the Apple Pay shit?
Well, I don't now because I've got a bag and shit, don't I? And I take that stuff with me. But honestly, I reckon it was about 35 minutes of my life
just
I was
wasted.
never going to get back.
Wasted.
And I didn't even. So I just said, "Oh, forget those bits. I don't really need them. I was boned buying them to get cash back. Don't worry." Left. Couldn't even go and get my car cleaned because I didn't have the cash back.
That is really pissing annoying, isn't it?
That is. Yeah. It was. I was so annoyed. I was like, I was doing the Mal angry lip, shaky fist.
It's because we've just gone too far with all the ways you can pay. Yeah.
We've gone techno, haven't we? We've gone techno massive.
Let's just keep it simple. Why are we doing, dicking around with being able to pay on your phone? I don't even know how to pay on my phone.
Why have Tesco stopped doing cashback at the till? Why is that different to the kiosk?
Yeah, kiosk key.
That is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Do you think Beryl's had her hands in the till at Tesco and they've had to just give it to managers to do the kiosk? Yeah. I blame Beryl.
It's always Beryl, to be honest. It is always Beryl.
Always Beryl.
Always.
Anyway, very good dickish people who chat, or when you pick the wrong,
you pick the wrong queue, and then you spend the whole time just wanting to smack yourself in the face.
Yeah, and you're just like,
why did I do that? Why did I pick this queue? Yeah,
and this is why online shopping
is the way to go.
The best.
It's the way to go.
Well, that was a very good dickish behaviour, wasn't it?
That was
very, very, very funny. But we are now back with Mal and Margs for a little bit. And when I put the little Instagram box up for people to ask questions that they'd have for you, somebody asked a really good one. And Margs, I'm going to actually come to you first for this one. So the question was, what's the best life advice you've ever been given? So, Mum, what's your best life advice?
Probably something that my mother used to say to me was, hear all and say nout.
Oh, good one.
Very good, Margs.
Yeah. That is a really good one.
Hear what people are saying to you. Just listen, hear what they're saying. But don't say anything unless they want you to. And don't pass on whatever you've heard to other people. Hear all, say nout. Brilliant.
Yes, what a great piece of advice, to hear what people tell you in confidence, but not share it unless they feel like they want you to.
I think as well, there's something about, isn't there, when people come to you with I don't know, like problems, or there's something going on in their life, or whatever. I think it's quite easy for you as the person who's listening to be thinking about what you're going to say in response to that. Like when actually sometimes people don't necessarily want you or need you to give it. They just want you to listen and actually really hear, not like be coming back with like some load of advice or telling you what they think you should do. And I think actually it's quite easy to fall into that, and actually just hearing people and listening to people actually a lot of the time is what people need or want. And
sometimes the actual act of that person unloading, or just talk, that is therapeutic to them.
Absolutely.
Just to talk.
Yeah.
But also for people to trust that you're not going to then go and tell everybody else. That notion of, there is a safety and security that is going to be held, unless somebody's going to hurt themselves or whatever, there's always that caveat, unless somebody is being abused or they're going to hurt themselves or somebody else. But to know that you are trustworthy enough for people to bring those very, very painful things to you, and that they're not going to be judged, but also that you're not going to then go out for your mates with a glass of wine and be like, oh, you never guessed, like that whole notion of just listening to people, hearing what they've got to say and holding it and saying, this is safe with me.
And actually,
it's okay.
Mum, I think that is something that you are very good at.
Oh, very good.
You're very good.
Confidentiality
At, like,
is a big
hearing
part of
people,
mums.
listening to people, and it not being about you wanting to, like, you know, pass on
Gossip
or even be, you know, trying to pass on a load of help and wisdom, which obviously is good if you can. But I think you are very good at actually just being that kind of listening point.
Don't you think that there's an innate within all of us? If you hear somebody saying, "Oh, this happened to me," and this, you then want to tell them what happened to you.
Yeah.
That's not what they want to hear.
Yeah.
You know, But so many times I've had that where, you know, I've been to someone and immediately they come back with and whether it's they want to initiate the fact that I've been there. I know.
I understand how you feel.
But really, nobody knows how.
No, exactly, because it's different for everybody, isn't it?
Yeah.
So Mal, what's been your best life advice?
Well, I think the best life advice is try and be a bit more graceful. Try and show. If we could all show more grace to each other, to our.
Do you mean gracious, or do you want us to be graceful dancers?
Well.
Because if you're asking me to be graceful, I think that's a big ask.
Ruth, obviously when I'm talking to you, I don't want you to be a graceful dancer, do I? You know,
do you mean gracious?
I mean,
full of grace. Full of grace.
You know, just driving the car around. You know, people are so selfish, and what I'm saying is try and be more selfless. Try and be considerate of other people, of their. You don't know where they are. You know that old thing of you never know what somebody's like until what somebody's going through until you've walked a mile in their shoes. And that's why when anybody passes me at speed in a car, I must think, crikey, they must be in a hurry for something. It could be an emergency or, but to show more grace to each other generally.
And that comes back to that notion of treat others as you'd wish to be treated, doesn't it? You know, it do unto others as you would wish to be done to yourself, and that is the best thing we can do, isn't it? More grace with people, listening to you know, more ability to listen and hear what they're saying without rushing in. You know, how would I like to be treated if I brought a problem to somebody? Well, I'd like somebody to really listen, and I'd like to know that it was going to stay with them and not be passed on to anyone else. You know, is that whole notion of, you know, let's be more humanistic to each other. Let's be more understanding of where each other is and where they've been and what they've experienced.
You know, that's it.
So thank you so much, Mal and Margs. We're so grateful that you've been here. Obviously, there's loads of places that you can find both Ange and I. You can find us on Instagram. I'm at Ruth Corden. She's at Ange Corden.
And you can also find our podcast on Facebook and Instagram. Just search Finding the Funny Podcast.
But Ange and I will be back next week on our own this time, unfortunately.
Shame.
No bolstering up from Mal and Margs. We'll be back next week helping you to find more of the funny.